get from a 3-generation family-run company for plumbing, drain cleaning, and leak repairs. For gas furnace, boiler, or hot water heater replacement, call Jenkins at 609-641-6440 and ask about zero-interest financing. Online at jenkinsonSons.com.
When you hear this,
they've got him again,
and this,
the catch, he scored,
and this,
oh boy, what a move by Embiid!
You think of us. We are sports. 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Thursday edition of Game Night ahead of Sixers Nets tonight. You hear all the action right here on 97.3 ESPN. Tom McGinnis on the call at 7:30, so we will get you this hour some thoughts on the Sixers game for Game 3 tonight. Also, we will dig a little more into the NFL draft. We are literally within a week. At this time next week, we will be leading you into the NFL draft coverage here on 97.3 ESPN FM. So, coming up this hour, we are going to dig deeper into the draft with NFL writer for The Athletic, Nick Baumgardner. He's been doing breakdowns of different teams and the draft for The Athletic. So, we will get his perspective on the draft. As always, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. That is the text board. You're also DMs in the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And I'm going to start with the Sixers because we're going to dig deeper into the NFL as we go through the hour. But, you know, they always say that Game 3 is one of the most important games in any NBA postseason series. I think it's fair to say that you have a Sixers team that we know that they're going to win this series. We know that they should win this series. But let's be realistic. You and I both know that this team is only going to go as far as their health lets them. And I think that for tonight, it's important to get the win because of the fact that you need to not let Boston get more rest than you do. See, I think it's a point that Mike Gill mentioned kind of in passing earlier in the Sports Bash that I thought was a very important piece that him and Paul Hudrick talked about in the 3 o'clock hour. You don't want the Celtics to be sitting and resting longer than you get to. They're younger. They don't need as much rest as you do. Their postseason success is not as critical based on their health. You could argue the Celtics are the most deep team in all the NBA. We saw the Celtics win games this year with their bench. So to me, I think for the Sixers, a game like tonight is just about beating the Nets as it is with keeping up with the Joneses, or in this case, keeping up with the Celtics. You don't want the Celtics to be in a position where they're going to have any advantages over you. No health advantages, no rest advantages, nothing. You don't want that. Never give your opponent an opportunity to take advantage of you. Obviously, I'm paraphrasing a little bit The Art of War by Sun Tzu, but you get the point. The idea is that you don't want to give the other team an opportunity to have something over on you. It's already bad enough that, the majority of the Sixers fan base thinks that you can never, ever, ever beat the Celtics. It's bad enough. But now you're in a situation where you cannot let the Celtics beat you to the day of rest. So that's why, to me, I think that tonight is important, less about specifically winning as it is about putting you in a position to not be the team that lets somebody else have an advantage over you. Never should you ever let another team take advantage of you. Now, I understand that there are some variables with the game tonight. One of them being McDaniels and his health. All right. The fact that McDaniels is not 100%, it seems that he's a kind of a coin flip at this point to play in the game tonight. I mean, we all hope that he does, but there's a part of you that says, shouldn't they be able to beat them without McDaniels? I would say in theory, yes. In theory, you should be able to beat them. But it's no guarantee. Because McDaniels has proven himself to be the absolute key for the Sixers defensively. This is a Sixers team that has showcased, well, to be honest with you, ever since Jimmy Butler left. Ever since Jimmy Butler left Philadelphia for Miami, this has been a roster that has had trouble consistently being able to guard the perimeter. They have not had the bodies and the athletes to consistently keep up with the teams like Boston, like Milwaukee, and others. And McDaniels is a huge part of that. Now, again, McDaniels, the only reason why he's out is because what they're describing as a non-COVID illness. So the hope is he can play. But I think we're going to find out that McDaniels may be a huge key to this team's success. If they make it to the NBA finals or even the conference finals, McDaniels can be a huge part of that because McDaniels' ability to switch on screens, to guard pretty much half of the Nets team, and in reality, half of the Celtics team, I think is a huge plus for this team. And I think that as we go deeper into this series and deeper into this postseason, I think it's very fair to look at McDaniels and see him continue to get consistent playing time, because what he does defensively is he allows the other players to have less stress. You're asking the other guys on the floor to have to pick up less defensively because McDaniels does not have to be protected like a George Niang. Listen, Tobias Harris tries hard, but he's not a great defender. McDaniels is a phenomenal athlete, and the reason why he is here is because his switchability and his length is key, is essential for you to be able to slow down perimeter players like Bridges, like Dinwiddie. And frankly, who would you rather have guarding Tatum and Brown? Tobias Harris or Jay McDaniels? I think that it answers itself, does it not? Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Seattle. We'll get to more Sixers talk a little bit later in the hour as well as we get closer to tip-off again. Pre-game coverage begins at 7 p.m. with ESPN Radio, and then Tom McGinnis on the call at 7 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. Now, with the NFL draft, there's a lot of speculation right now about Bijan Robinson. And when Robinson said this, we played this audio earlier on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill, but I want to play it again for those who didn't hear it. Bijan Robinson was on the Dan Patrick show, and he did nothing to calm down or quiet the fervor around here for a running back of his caliber. On the Dan Patrick show, I will let Robinson's words speak for himself. Two very important things in that. Number one, he said he's only taken 2 official visits. Now, that's no guarantee that the Eagles and Bucks will draft him, but it's very interesting that only those 2 teams he took official visits with, because there are plenty of teams that would be, in theory, should consider drafting him. The Chargers, a team that their starting running back has made trade demands, Austin Eckler. You look at a team like the New England Patriots. They seem to never get the running back position 100% right because they're always taking guys in the mid to late rounds. You look at a team like the Miami Dolphins. They've had a million injuries, what it seems like, at running back over the last few years. Look at a team like the Atlanta Falcons. How long is the Cordell Patterson experiment going to keep working and lasting? Are you going to be able to guarantee me that the Carolina Panthers are going to get the same level of productivity that they did from the 2 guys they did last year? Are you telling me that Deonta Foreman and all those guys are going to be able to make up for the McCaffrey loss the way they did last year? I doubt it. I'll even throw out their team like Chicago Bears. You're telling me that you wouldn't take Robinson over any Bear running back? So again, there are other teams that should be interested in Robinson. But the fact that he only had official visits with 2 teams fuels the speculation. It adds fuel to the fire. Now, he did say, and I will emphasize this, he did say that I have taken Zoom interviews with other teams. And there's a long history in the NFL of players having no idea they're going to be drafted by a certain team. There's a long history of guys. I mean, if you watched enough A Football Life on NFL Network, there's like a gazillion guys who've been like, I had no idea this team was interested in me. I had no idea this team wanted to draft me. So, there's a little bit of, side eye that I give those comments, but I can't ignore it, because for the Eagles to be one of the only teams for him to get an official visit with, it does make you wonder. It's one of 2 things. Either Bijan Robinson is legitimately on the Eagles draft board as a legitimate target, or the Eagles did his agent, Nicole Lynn, a favor because they wanted to get the Jalen Hurts contract done before Joe Burrow. And they said, I'll scratch your back, you scratch my back, I do you a favor, you do me a favor. You get my guy an official visit with you to help his draft stock, and we'll get that Jalen Hurts deal done. It's either one or the other. Which one it is? Well, we're going to find out a week from today. The NFL draft is next Thursday. You hear all the coverage right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. Coming up next, the Athletics NFL writer who covers the NFL draft, Nick Baumgardner, joins me right here on the Power Hour known as Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM. Don't forget the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Take 97.3 ESPN wherever you go. Thanks to First Bank of Seattle.
tomorrow on ESPN Radio. After dropping Game 1, Donovan Mitchell and the Cavaliers respond with a critical Game 2 win at home against the Knicks.
Here's Mitchell penetrating, scores!
Now the series heads to Madison Square Garden for a pivotal Game 3. Game 3 of the Cavaliers and Knicks. Coverage begins tomorrow at 8 Eastern. Listen to the NBA playoffs exclusively on 97.3 ESPN.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC. Equal housing lender.
Progressive presents Precious Moments.
Nothing beats driving cross-country in our RV.
This is so much fun, Dad. I don't even need to look at my phone.
It's not the destination, it's the journey. Jinx!
The exchange you just heard didn't actually happen, but it could. Bundle your home and other vehicles with Progressive and you could use the savings to make sure that RV is always ready to hit the road. Who knows, your teenager might actually put down her phone for 5 minutes. It could happen. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers.
Tired of overpaying? Get to Matt Blatt Nissan and get $7,500 off any new Nissan Ariya, Armada, or Titan. Or pay 0% APR with 0 down on every new Nissan Rogue or Ultima in stock.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Are you stuck in a loan or lease? AJ the Trade Man wants to get you released, so you can drive home in any new Nissan, Ultima, or Rogue with 0 down and 0 interest, or take $7,500 off MSRP on every new Nissan Ariya, Armada SUV, or Titan truck. And only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Have a job clearing $350 per week? We want to approve you today. And AJ wants your trade. MattBlattNissan.com. Rate qualifications exist with approved credits. $27.78 per thousand finance on in-stock 2023 Rogues. Pathfinder Ultima. Not all will qualify. Go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details or call 844-917-4758. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Stock $589. Sale price $31,774. Expires 4/30/23. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Moments like hearing my cat purr good morning mean a lot to me. But after being diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, or MBC, which is breast cancer that is spread to other parts of the body, they mean even more. I take Ibrance, palbociclib. Ibrance 125 milligram tablets with an aromatase inhibitor is for adults with HR-positive, HER2-negative MBC as the first hormonal-based therapy. Ask your doctor about Ibrance and visit Ibrance.com. Ibrance may cause low white blood cell counts that may lead to serious infections. Ibrance may cause severe inflammation of the lungs. Both of these can lead to death. Tell your doctor right away if you have new or worsening symptoms, including trouble breathing, shortness of breath, cough, or chest pain. Before taking Ibrance, tell your doctor if you have fever, chills, or other signs of infection, liver or kidney problems, are or plan to become pregnant, or are breastfeeding. Common side effects include low red blood cell and low platelet counts, infections, tiredness, nausea, sore mouth, abnormalities in liver blood tests, diarrhea, hair thinning or loss, vomiting, rash, and loss of appetite.
Meet Joe A, Joe B, and Joe C.
What's up?
3 everyday Joes perfecting their banking with Chase. Joe A is locking his lost debit card with the Chase mobile app. Joe B is cruising toward his new ride with AutoSave. And Joe C's Chase banker is helping him budget to go back to school. Tools that help protect. Support for what's next. One bank that puts you in control. Visit chase.com/checking. Chase. Make more of what's yours.
Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Messaging and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. member FDIC.
Homeowners trust Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Business owners trust Jenkins too for light commercial services. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Call Jenkins. One call does it all. For new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing, and drain cleaning services. Call now and learn about rebates through the HVAC Energy Efficiency Program, brought to you by South Jersey Gas. Call 609-641-6262 or visit jenkinsandsons.com.
You're listening to Game with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Listen, what your guys' thoughts and comments a little bit later in the hour. As always, the text board is open at 609-403-0973. Also, DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. So right now, we are a week from the NFL Draft, which you hear all the coverage right here on 97.3 ESPN. The Eagles have the 10th overall pick and the 30th overall pick. There's a lot of moving parts in this draft. There's a lot of speculation. And let's be realistic. As I said earlier here on 97.3 ESPN, and as I keep saying over and over again, who is actually going to be available at 10th overall is actually probably the biggest part of the conversation than who the Eagles should draft, and to get more into who is going to go where and what teams need in the NFL draft. He covers the NFL for The Athletic. Nick Baumgardner joins me right now here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Nick, welcome into the show. How's it going?
Going great. How are we doing?
Doing pretty good. So before we dive too deep into the minutia, here's what I want to start with.
Yeah.
You, as I just mentioned, you know the Eagles have the 10th overall pick. So the teams that are 1 through 9, like we know that we're probably going to have 2 or 3 quarterbacks go somewhere in the top 10. But who are the other players that you feel like, look, I'm telling you right now, Josh, these people are going to be gone before the 10th pick?
Right. I mean, the number one gone on that list would be Will Anderson. He's not going to be there, right? I mean, you can cross him off after the quarterbacks. I don't think Tyree Wilson will be there. I don't think Will Anderson will be there. I don't think Gonzalez will be there. That's probably where that stops, right? Because I think the real big question is Jalen Carter there? I think if you're Philly, would be one. The second one would be, are you, if you're Philly, sitting there like at the top of the tackle chart? And if all the tackles are available, can you trade? Or do you want to take a tackle? And I think that if you look at everything Howie Roseman's done forever, right? Like it's, I mean, I don't want to like predict that they're going to trade the pick, but it's another one of these perfect situations almost where you nailed it before I was waiting listening to you. Like it's not really about anything other than who's there and what can they do with it and how can they leverage it the best. And maybe that just means picking the best guy, but also, you know, knowing their history, it's probably going to mean getting the most out of it.
Now, you mentioned picking the best guy. Well, we've been talking about for weeks now, you know, in this area, the Bijan Robinson, you know, flames, you know, whether it's real smoke or not, we don't know. Obviously, he admits to Dan Patrick on his show that he's taken 2 official visits, one with the Eagles, one with the Bucks. So, you know, is Robinson to the Eagles legitimate considering, as you just said, Howie Roseman's history?
Right. I mean, I think that it's going to depend on what the market looks like. I think that would, my guess is that it's like he's going to play the board first and see where he's at and see what, you know, the best he can do with it. And if you can't make a move, you can't make a move. And if you're stuck, you're stuck. And if like, it depends on, and that's not a bad place to be stuck, I guess is what I would say, because you could get like the top half of the next, you know, the edge rush. You could get in there and get Van Ness if you wanted to jump a line there, or Bijan. And, you know, that's a guy that we talked about, you know, here at the Athletic back in like the summer for Philly. And a lot of people got mad at us, but I was like, look, this guy is a top 10 player in this draft. If you're Philadelphia, you're there anyway. You're always, you know, a tweak here or there away from, you know, one more play here, one more play there, and you win a Super Bowl. That's what you're trying to do. And you get Bijan on a rookie deal with the offensive line situation they have and Jalen. Man, like that would be, I don't know. I mean, that almost feels like it would be too good to pass up in some days when I look at it for Philly. But, you know, knowing them, I don't think it's just a slam dunk that they would do anything. I think you're going to max it out the best you can.
With all that being said, what do you say to the people who say, listen, part of the reason why you lost the Super Bowl was because the defense failed you. You have to go defense with that pick. What do you say to those people?
So I think that there's 2 ways to look at that. And I think that there's some logic to that because their defense is older by nature. I think that's one of the things that there's going to be some guys, you know, they already had some guys come off, but there's going to be more coming off of that, you know, in time here. And I think that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So I think that you're weighing 3 things. It's do we want to take a gamble on a heavy hitter like Bijan and put him in our offense, which we know is already really good, and now it would be like next level good, and then we would have something that's like truly, truly elite. Or do we want to make sure that our defense doesn't rot out and, like they always seem to do under Howie Roseman, make sure that before one of those wheels, like maybe another edge has to retire or move on, you get the next young guy in here. That almost feels like the more logical choice, but I'm almost torn, right? Because Any one of those for Philly almost feels pretty good.
You mentioned Lucas Van Ness. He, to me, is fascinating because he didn't start a lot of. I mean, he didn't even play football for a huge chunk of his life. He was a hockey player, for goodness sake.
Yep.
And he's a guy at college that, when he went up against a guy like Paris Johnson, he whipped him. Like he went up against the best O lineman he could. He played great against them. And you have a team like Philly who likes to rotate players in and out anyway. So it feels like that guy is a perfect fit for Philadelphia, but is 10th overall too rich?
I don't think so. And I think for the thing you just said, I think that, he is so young and has played so little, and, you rotate. And the thing that teams love about Van Ness is he's got the length and the agility and the speed to, at some point in his career, be one of those outside edge rushers, similar to what Detroit has with Aiden Hutchinson. But more so, he can line up inside over a guard and just maul the guy. He is off the ball with the explosive power as good as it gets, in terms of just that raw, go knock somebody over and run through someone. He doesn't have anything else after that. Like, his move set is very raw and limited, and that's where, people get scared. And that's why when this whole thing starts in January, people start looking at these things, they have him down in the 70s, and we're like, no, that's not right. He's going to be a first-round pick. Absolutely. And here he is. I don't think 10's too high. I think that's about right. I mean, that's the next edge area. So if you're looking for that in your team like Philly, and you have a good environment for him to kind of grow in, I think that's a perfect landing spot.
Talk to me about Miles Murphy from Clemson. He's a guy that a lot of people have talked about as well as a potential Eagles target.
Yeah, he's right there with Van Ness. I think I like Van Ness better. And I think some people are a little torn on that. Whereas Murphy in some areas might be a better pass rusher. He might have more to his game. But at the same time, I think you come with the same questions when you watch Murphy, and there's more evidence on tape than you saw for Van Ness. So I almost feel like Van Ness has maybe more room to keep growing, even though they're both really freaky athletes. I would prefer Van Ness in that spot, to be quite honest. But I wouldn't hate it if somebody wanted to go the other way, because I think you probably see more and you know more of what you're going to get from Murphy coming out right now.
We're talking with Nick Baumgardner from The Athletic, covers the NFL here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, at Nick Baumgardner on Twitter. And don't forget to get your Athletic subscription if you don't already. Be like me and you have the yearly, you pay once a year, you got the whole thing year round at a discount. I mean, I think it's the best deal to just do the once per year, because you're actually paying.
Oh yeah. Whenever you find those discounts, we try to drop them out on Twitter, right? Like whenever we see one, get the sales out, man.
Exactly.
Got to re-up.
Exactly. So, talk to me about the other Clemson guy, because I'm hearing a lot of these draft experts. They really like Brian Brise. They really think that this guy has a wildly high ceiling. I've been trying to remind people that, he didn't miss all time just because of injury. He missed time because he also had a death in the family as well.
Yes. His younger sister passed away. He missed his whole sophomore season with the ACL. He's super young. And the other thing, too, that gets underwhelmed in this, because there's so much more on the plate, he was the number one overall recruit in the country and had so much attention on him as a junior in high school. This guy has been under every microscope for real big-time football evaluators have been watching him for 6-7 years. I mean, that's how long people have known about him. So there's some of that, too. I think we see that in college recruiting sometimes, where, people forget about guys. And I do wonder if a lot of us are forgetting and making it a little too complicated on him, because sometimes I hear from people that are like, why aren't you talking more about Brise at this spot or that spot? I'm like, I don't know. I don't really have any good reason for it. It's just it hasn't worked out that way, but it always makes sense because, all the traits are there. He is super powerful. He is an intense guy who plays really hard. And, a lot of defensive coordinators in the league would like that attitude that he'll bring. And you haven't come close to getting his best ball yet. All the stuff he's had to go through. I would even love it if a team that had some time, again, like Philly, Philly are one of these teams that's maybe down to the teams that get the steal. If you've got some time to let him get his feet under him, man, he could be a real big payoff in a year or two, because he could be top 10 talent. That's how good he is.
When you think about the cornerbacks, and I know that the Eagles might not pick a cornerback, but listen, everyone in this area knows that if Surtain or Horn made it to the Eagles a couple of years ago, they were jumping all over that guy. So talk to me about how you're looking at the two main corners, Witherspoon from Illinois and Gonzalez from Oregon, because, it seems like everyone has them 1-2, just maybe not the same 1-2.
Yes, and I think that's the correct settle, and I think they're both top 10 picks. I do. I think that Gonzalez is the best mover of all the corners. He kind of does everything well. There's really not a lot of gaps in his game. You could argue when you stack him up against like somebody like Witherspoon, you come away thinking Gonzalez isn't that physical, but he is. I think he's fine. He tackles fine. He's fine. Like that's not his main event trait. It's his movement skills and his ability to go get the ball and just be, insanely difficult to get around. But Witherspoon is the guy who just is a beast, like physically, like just will maul people, within the confines of the rules and right up to the whistle, and just is one of those corners who I think a lot of defensive coordinators who like to play press or like to have guys stand out there and just, talk about it and be about it. Like that's him. And he's the most confident, maybe the most confident defensive player in the draft. Like, I mean, there's no bashfulness with Devin Witherspoon. And I think that's why, even when he didn't do anything at the combine, he didn't run, or I don't think he ran well. I didn't think he ran till his pro day. I don't think anybody cared. It was just like, he's a tape guy all the way. And if you like his tape, and most people do, he's a guy that's going to bring some good quality, like character and, quality play to your team.
Talk to me about Joey Porter Jr. He's a guy that, obviously he's got the NFL bloodlines, but, the term I keep hearing about him is that he's handsy.
Right. Yeah. It's the length, right? Because he's so long. And that's the one thing that he's got that's special about him, that I think he's still trying to figure out how to use it. And I think that it's an asset that, as long as he keeps growing and continues to develop, and I assume that that's going to happen. I mean, his dad is his dad, and especially again, like if he falls to one of these teams that's like more stable and he goes to a good coaching staff, like he was like Pittsburgh or something like that feels like a great spot, for him to just sort of learn and grow and learn how to use his hands with more discipline, because his length is elite. It's enough to bother anybody, but sometimes because his foot speed isn't as good as maybe a Gonzalez, he'll grab. And in the Big Ten, you get away with that. As Jeff Okudah just realizes that in the NFL the last couple of years, right? So you don't get away with it in the NFL. And I think that he needs a little bit of time to sort of learn that. But he has some really elite traits. And I think that's why he's no doubt first round pick. He could be top 15. I wouldn't be shocked on that.
When you also think about the other corners, there's other guys, like for example, Forbes from Mississippi State and other guys out there. Right. Who are the guys who are not the top three names that, for lack of a better term, when you see them drafted next week, you're going to be like, that guy is going to be someone that someone's going to be happy with?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot in this class. Darius Rush is the first one that comes to my head from South Carolina, who will be a second or third round corner. A lot of people have talked about Clark Phillips, the kid from Utah. Julius Brents from Kansas State is really, he's a 6'3". I think the arms are 34 inches with him. He's got good, I think he could be a safety or a corner. He played some at Iowa and was really good at K-State. Tyreek Stevenson from Miami is really good. In some ways, I almost like the middle rounds of the corners, like better than the top guys. Like top guys are better athletes and they're going to be closer to whatever now, but there's some really steady, good, solid, like going to be able to help you players. Like even like Riley Moss from Iowa, who I think is probably like a 4th, 5th, maybe 6th if somebody's lucky pick. He's a guy that can play. He can be able to come in and help somebody right now. And I think that's what I like about this corner class. We see that a lot most years, but a lot of good ones in the middle. DJ Turner from Michigan, he ran that 4.26 there. So a lot of good ones in the middle rounds, the second and third round for sure.
Let's get to the quarterbacks. That feels like the position that a lot of people, not in our area, because the Eagles don't need a quarterback. Yeah. The Giants don't need a quarterback. Washington kind of needs a quarterback. Depends on Washington's weird. Let me really quick. What is your assessment of Washington? Because it feels like, for weeks, like it feels like forever to go, but it was just a month and plus ago. People are like, Washington's a team that's going to go after Lamar Jackson, right? Washington's a team that needs a quarterback. And it's like Ron Rivera keeps putting out this story about how we're happy with Sam Howell. And I'm just like, I'm like, what?
I know. I was at the combine. I was standing right there when he said it. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, are you trying to convince yourself that this is a thing? Like, I don't know what's happening. Is this a smoke screen? Like, and I did wonder, and, I mocked Levis to them a couple weeks ago because I'm like, yeah, they have to take a quarterback. And if Levis or one of these guys falls, like, they have to do it. But I do wonder if, since they just added Bieniemy, if they're looking at next year's group, which includes some really big timers, May and Caleb Williams. And if they're looking at next year to just go all in and trade everything and go get somebody like that, well, maybe you wouldn't take a quarterback in this year. That's the only reason I could see not doing that if you're Washington. But that's even a little bit like, I don't know if I would do that.
I can't rationalize it, man. I don't understand.
I agree. I think they need to do it.
I just don't understand what they're doing down there. Like at some point.
Yeah, it seems like they're waiting, but it almost feels like, what are you waiting for?
Waiting for what?
Yeah, right. So I don't get it either.
I mean, what? Like, okay, so let's say they're waiting for the team to be sold. What is the new ownership going to tell them that Daniel Snyder can't tell them? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, they're waiting to pull the trigger on a quarterback, and it's like, because they, and it's one of these, they've been burned, and you get that too, and they're trying to be careful, and you get that too, but like, yeah, I mean, at some point, and they have a solid club. I mean, they're not a bad team. I mean, they have some nice players, and it's like if you made a nice investment in there and could move forward, be back in the playoffs before you knew it, and who knows what happens, right? I mean, that's how it goes, but it does feel like they're in kind of a holding pattern.
All right, so let's get specifically to the quarterbacks. So Stroud versus Young. If we take away how big and small these guys are, what to you is the difference?
The difference is that Young's, sort of, it depends on what you want, because to me, Stroud is the guy. I think overall, long-term, his accuracy as a passer in the pocket is what's going to keep him as a longer-term, if he can get everything else figured out and all that, in terms against, the blitz and the pressure and all that sort of thing. So that to me is the wild card. But like Young's on the other side, the people that would argue that one is his improvisation skills and his ability to get out and solve problems while still being really accurate with the ball is not really. His accuracy isn't much further behind Stroud's, and his escapability and ability to create is better than anything we've seen in years. So maybe, there's really no comp for him in so many ways, right? So, but, there's that size part of it. So I go with Stroud, but I understand why people go with Young. And I think the real big point to hammer home there is like, they're 1-2, and there's nobody close to cracking that 1-2. To me, I think that they're sizably in front of Richardson and Levis.
You mentioned Richardson and Levis. So I asked a question earlier because, there's reports out there that the 49ers might be interested in trading Trey Lance, and how, now ESPN's Diana Rossini is saying that nobody wants Trey Lance. And, my question is, so then what's the difference between Lance and Richardson? Like, they both have limited experience in college. They're both freakazoid athletes. They both are, high ceiling guys, right? So like, why would a team draft Richardson and not take Lance instead? You know what I mean? Like, am I missing something here?
The one thing there could be medicals. If there are medicals that are, murky or they're not sure about, after the injury, that would be the one. But other than that, no, it's a very similar situation. Lance had even less evidence on him than Richardson. I mean, if we can imagine that. I mean, he played at a smaller school with less experience. I mean, it was like a ridiculous scout on him. Richardson's is close to that, but we do have more. He did play against some big time opponents. We've got at least that. He had a full season in the SEC. We at least have that. So I can understand that level of like, well, I have more comfort there. There's still a lot of wild card with Trey Lance, and I do wonder if the medicals, and I don't know if nobody wants him or it's I don't want him at whatever you're asking for. You know what I mean? Like, I want to have a conversation about it, but I'm not giving you 5 for him. And if that's what you want, then we're not doing that. So I do wonder if what the price they're asking for and how for real San Francisco is. Like, what motivation do they have to really trade him, or is that an actual smokescreen? So I do wonder about that, but I could see where the gap would be there a little bit.
Is Will Levis to Tennessee the most obvious thing that no one's talking about?
Could be. I mean, yeah. I had him slip down there to Washington last time I went through it, but I mean, I thought about it there at Tennessee for sure. It's, Atlanta keeps on talking about how, they like Desmond Ridder and that's what they're going to do. So I guess same thing with, Washington. We'll take them at their word, like with Washington, and say that they don't want to do that. Then I think he could fall right there to Tennessee. And I mean, why wouldn't you? And I think, again, like some of these veteran quarterbacks, we talk about a lot, like these guys can't stand it if they have to like be a bridge guy for somebody. It's like, well, you know what? Like some of them don't have much of a choice. And I think some of them would be more willing to be okay with it than people might realize. So, yeah, I mean, if I were a team like that, if like Minnesota was a team that could get up there close enough and he was falling, they could make a trade and they could stash him for a year, like I would consider it, as Kirk Cousins isn't getting any younger or better, right? So, I mean, like I think that there are a few teams that could maybe look at their situation. Detroit even, Goff's a little younger than some of those other guys, but I think they could look at that too.
All right, before I let you go, Nick, I'm going to get back to where we started. We started with the trench talk, and I want to finish with it because Paris Johnson, Broderick Jones, Peter Skronsky, Darnell Wright. I feel like everyone has a different order for those guys. So talk to me in the audience about those four guys, because two of them are being projected as potential Eagles draft picks, Skronsky and Johnston, whereas I'm seeing a lot of people who seem to, they don't like Johnston as much as Jones. They don't like Skronsky as much as Wright. So like, it feels like it's those four, but everyone has the reasons for why one versus the other.
Yeah. So I think that to me, it's an interesting one because Skronsky is the best lineman in the class to me. He's the period, regardless of position, tackle, center, guard, whatever. And he might have to be a guard in the NFL. I think he can play tackle. We'll end up seeing. He's got the short arms and all that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, his movement and his ability as a pass protector to change it up, he's the best skilled offensive lineman in this class. However, like if you are bad and need a left tackle and that's it, like he's not the guy that you maybe want, then you go down the list and you look at Paris Johnson, who is the best trace guy in this class of an offensive lineman, right? It's 36 and an 8 or the arm length. He moves like a tight end. He's played guard. He can play either tackle spot. He's more raw than Skronsky and needs more time. But like that's the next. If you go down further though, and you say, okay, well, I could do right or left tackle. I just want a guy who's more ready to go, and I can count on him tomorrow. Like I would say that's Broderick Jones, because like that's a guy who is a physical mauler. He is what he is. I think he's going to be a solid player for his whole career. I'm not sure if he'll ever be elite, but he's going to be good for his whole career. I think you could play right tackle next year and be fine for somebody. And then I think Darnell Wright, it's interesting that some people have thought about him as high as, in the teens even. And I'm not sure I would go there. I think that he's the next guy on the board. The one hesitation I have with him though is he's a right tackle only. He can't really play left tackle. We saw him at left tackle during the Senior Bowl. It didn't look so great. He only played right tackle at Tennessee. So I'm not sure on him. That might depend on team fit and value more than any of them. So it's sort of like eye of the beholder and what you need. But those top three, Skronsky, Johnson, and Jones, are legit top 15 draft picks, all for sure. I think Skronsky and probably Johnson are top 10 draft picks, when it's all said and done. I don't know if it'll fall that way, but I think that's how I would grade them.
It's a very fascinating draft class, a lot of moving parts, a lot of variables that go into this. And of course, check out Nick Baumgardner, all of his coverage over at The Athletic. If you don't have The Athletic, get that subscription so you get all the NFL coverage you need all year long. Nick, the good news is we're counting down the days to the draft. The bad news is we still have a few more days of smoke screens.
That's absolutely right. We have silly season is not over yet. That's right. We're still going. So on we go.
Great stuff, Nick. Appreciate you jumping on.
You bet. Anytime.
Of course, our conversation with Nick Baumgardner about the NFL draft being brought to you by Jenkins & Sons. One call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Jenkins technicians have got you covered. Give them a call at 609-641-6440 for new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, and drain cleaning services. Whatever you need, just call Jenkins at 609-641-6440. and visit them online at jenkinsandsons.com.
It's Sixers playoff basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Maxey attacking into the lane. Cut off by Bridges. Circles back outside the Hart. On the move with the beat. Hanging, firing, hits up and goes.
It's Sixers Nets Game 3 tonight. Coverage begins at 7:30. It's Sixers playoff basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Your next BMW is closer than you think at BMW of Atlantic City. Take advantage of limited time offers on our entire lineup of new BMW models, like a new 2023 BMW X3 xDrive 30i lease for $599 a month for 36 months. Looking to trade? We'll pay top dollar for your vehicle. Visit BMW of Atlantic City, closer than you think, located in Egg Harbor Township and online at bmwatlanticcity.com. For more details, call us toll free at 609-316-2393.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
This story is called The Ugly Truth About Timeshare. If you think you've done your family a favor by buying a timeshare, you need my help. Hello, I'm Chuck McDowell, CEO and founder of Wesley Financial Group. 10 years ago, I started helping folks cancel their timeshare. In the process, started what's now called the timeshare cancellation industry. Timeshare is the only thing that you can buy that you can't tell me how much it's going to cost or when it's going to end. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check to fill out any amount they want for annual maintenance and assessment fees. The crazy thing is, this never ends. Even when you die, your family's now going to be stuck with this burden. Stop the insanity today. Call my office now. If we take you as a client, I guarantee we'll cancel your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call for your free information kit. 800-979-1177. 800-979-1177. 800-979-1177.
At Lowe's, we're always bringing pros more ways to save on the brands you trust. Right now, buy a select Bosch 12-volt bare tool starting at $99 and get a Bosch 12-volt battery starter kit free. Plus, as an MVPs member, earn up to 3 times the bonus points when you buy select products that you can then redeem for rewards. Because Lowe's knows savings, Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location while supplies last. See sales associate for details. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid through 4/28. Subject to change.
Whether you own a local business or a global one, you know that these days, generating growth is a challenge. By teaming with Bank of America, you'll not just stay ahead of the curve, you'll move it. With access to experts, award-winning insights, and business solutions so powerful, you'll make every move matter, locally and globally. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Copyright 2023 Bank of America, N.A.
Did you know that over 40 years ago, John Jenkins Sr. invented the heated seat that football players sit on? Yes, the Jenkins family created a way for football players to weather the extreme cold on frigid game days. Find out why homeowners and business owners count on Jenkins for the quality, service, and reliability you get from a 3-generation family-run company for plumbing, drain cleaning, and leak repairs. For gas furnace, boiler, or hot water heater replacements, call Jenkins at 609-641-6440 and ask about zero-interest financing. Online at jenkinsandsons.com.
Tired of overpaying? Get to Matt Blatt Nissan and get $7,500 off any new Nissan Ariya, Armada, or Titan. Or pay 0% APR with 0 down on every new Nissan Rogue or Ultima in stock.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Are you stuck in a loan or lease? AJ the Trade Man wants to get you released, so you can drive home in any new Nissan, Ultima, or Rogue with 0 down and 0 interest, or take $7,500 off MSRP on every new Nissan Ariya, Armada SUV, or Titan truck. And only Matt Blatt Nissan has a 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Have a job clearing $350 per week? We want to approve you today. And AJ wants your trade. MattBlattNissan.com. Rate qualifications exist with approved credits. $2,778 per thousand finance on in-stock 2023 Rogues. Pathfinder Ultima. Not all will qualify. Go to Matt Blatt. 4758. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Stock $589. Sale price $31,774. Expires 4/30/23. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Speaking of the NFL draft, you have one more opportunity today to qualify for the Eagles Pick Your Trip contest. Yes, coming up in about 5 minutes from now. We call it number 7 for your opportunity to the Eagles draft party and win your opportunity to pick your trip for the upcoming Eagles season. Before we get to the text board over at 609-403. I know Jeff in Ocean City has been waiting patiently to talk a little more Sixers and Nets series. But I just want to bring up one more thing about what we talked about with the draft. I think that what you're observing right now is there is a huge difference between who the best players are and who teams are comfortable drafting or what they need. And I think that is the real variable that we are running into because when you look at a team like the Eagles, do they need Bijan Robinson? No. Do they need Peter Skronsky? No. Would they be much better off if they had a Brian Brise or Miles Murphy or a Lucas Van Ness defensively? 100%. Would every Eagles fan be happy if they picked Gonzalez of Oregon or Witherspoon of Illinois? Of course they would. And I think that's really what's going to happen next week. We're going to find out where the line is in this draft between who the best players are and who the teams really want in the draft. I think that is the problem with all this is that, I was watching during the commercial break. They had Daniel Jeremiah of NFL Network and Tom McShay of ESPN debating about who the top 10 prospects are. And they kept saying, well, we have almost the same list, but, well, we have the same ratings on these guys, but. And I think the but is a huge, important thing. The but in all of this is what's going to be the difference between the Eagles staying at 10 or trading down. The but is going to be the difference between is it CJ Stroud or Bryce Young. There's speculation right now that CJ Stroud, who a month ago was the presumptive first overall pick, is now being talked about dropping out of the top 10. This whole thing is nuts to me. It's nuts. All right, Jeff in Ocean City is asking me over on the text board about a prop bet for tonight for the Sixers Nets game because he pointed out that I was right about the James Harden not getting the threes the other night. I am going to say Cam Johnson over on the points because it seems like for whatever reason it's very important to him to score. Not sure why, but big deal. Big deal for that guy to go out there and score. What else can we throw into this parlay? I'm trying to think on the fly here. I'm going to say, I'm trying to find assists right now. Where's the Harden assist number? Here it is. The over-under is 6.5. Give me Harden on the over on the assists. I mean, Harden can get 7 assists. That shouldn't be that hard. And then what's Embiid's assist number? Embiid is all right. I don't like that number too much. Let's move on. Where's Embiid's rebound number? Or we could do threes here. I'm literally doing this on the fly. I am literally doing this while I'm on the radio, and it's probably going to be the worst or the greatest parlay of all time. It's one or the other. Embiid's rebound number. Oh, rebound 9.5. We can take it over. So here you go. Cam Johnson over on the points, Harden over on the assists, and Embiid over on the rebounds. I mean, it's only plus 160. I mean, I got 40 seconds. Can I throw one more thing in here? Let's see here. Come on. What's the Tobias Harris over under on rebounds? All right, give me Tobias Harris over 4.5 rebounds. All right, plus 270. There you go. Tobias Harris over on the rebounds, Embiid over on the rebound, Harden over on the assists, Cam Johnson over on the points, plus 270. There you go, Jeff in Ocean City. asking you shall receive here on the Power Hour, known as Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers basketball tonight at 7:30. That sounder means it's for your final opportunity today to qualify for the Eagles Pick Your Trip contest. Caller number 7 at 609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. Caller number 7, you will be in for the Eagles Pick Your Trip contest. Thank you, Philly Sports Trip. Of course, you must be present next week at Maynard's in Margate for the Eagles draft party with Mike Gill and the Sports Bash. 609-573-3776. You're in. You are qualified for the Eagles Pick Your Trip contest. Your opportunity to pick you and 3 friends to go to an Eagles road trip to the Giants, Jets, or Washington Eagles road game this year. But you got to call 609-573-3776. Tomorrow is the final day to qualify. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great night, everybody.
Hey, South Jersey, this is Billy Schwein. Tune into The Locker Room every Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN. Each weekend in The Locker Room, you will get passionate sports talk from a fan's perspective, along with interviews with some of the biggest names in sports. That's every Saturday and Sunday from 10 a.m. to noon in The Locker Room with me, Billy Schwein, on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, because nothing could be finer than talking sports with a Schweiner.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey